There's no intelligence in this entire building. Miss Sugar? I know, I miss you too, bro. Hi, it's me, Kevin, from the internet. Welcome back to the Breakdown series. The series where we break down Escape from Tarkov raids with a focus on how to PvP, how to get better in PvP by outsmarting your opponents and get more kills and survive more raids. This first episode of a new season marks the return of me to Tarkov after a good break. For those who are not familiar with me, or maybe it's your first time watching any of my videos, welcome. Let me preface by saying that I'm not that good a player when it comes down to pure aim and reflexes, so hopefully my gameplay should be relatable with that of the average player. I also don't think that you need to rely on Twitch reflexes and pure aim in a game like Tarkov. Most of the fights that I win are because of positioning, map knowledge and mind games, forcing my enemies to make mistakes or just generally trying to outsmart them. Speaking of Twitch, I livestream on their website. Come check it out if you haven't yet, if you want to enjoy a chilled time. You can find me on twitch.tv/KRASHED. Also, before we get started, a massive thank you to all of the people who support me on Patreon. More on that and how you can support later. So, I took a bit of a break from Tarkov, as many of you know. This means that mechanically I'm a bit rusty. Especially now that they added inertia, even the basic movement takes a bit of time to get used to. Despite my rusty mechanics, I think that this raid serves as a good showcase of how to survive your raids as a lower level without access to endgame stuff. My character in this raid is level 4, which means I barely have any skills and I don't have access to any decent gear. Being only level 4 means that I'm still doing all of my early game tasks and we're currently on the Pocket Watch 1. So the Pocket Watch means that we're going to customs. I know, it's a lovely place to die as a poor little level 4 trying to do your tasks, but it doesn't have to be. Allow me to show you how you can not only survive, but also take down some other players for their gear as you go. For most of my raids around this level, it's not worth it in my opinion to take out expensive gear. Not that you'll have access to it yet anyway. I bring the double barrel shotgun that's being sold by Jaeger for about 8k rubles. My reasoning for using this gun is simple. It's a really cheap option to at least be able to defend yourself from the AI scavs. It's not really of any value for the majority of PMCs to loot from your body in the case you do die. And it's also quite big and bulky. It doesn't really fit in most backpacks of players that will be tempted to loot it. What I mean by this is, generally speaking, the players who will have backpacks big enough to fit a gun like this will most likely be of higher level and have more money in their stash. They could fit the shotgun if they wanted to, but they most likely won't, because the gun is not of enough value to interest them. I mean, why would you loot this bulky shotgun if you can loot way more rubles per slot in barter items instead? Pretty much any other item will make them more money, so they'll leave the shotgun. On the contrary, a player of a lower level or with less money in their stash will be more likely to use smaller backpacks. They maybe would want to loot the shotgun, but they won't have the space for it in their backpacks because their backpacks are more likely to be cheaper and smaller. Maybe they'll put it on their sling instead, but since the shotgun is only about 8k rubles from Jaeger level 1, it will be the first thing that gets dropped in favor of a more valuable gun that they find, which in the case of this shotgun is just about any other weapon. This means that you're extremely likely to get this gun back through insurance, which on its own means that your effective risk is practically zero on runs like this. Remember, we are here to, first and foremost, collect our task item and survive the raid. We are not here to destroy the entire lobby. We don't actively seek out other players to kill them, but we will put up a fight and kill anyone who stands in the way of our objective. Anyway, we made our way into the 3-story dorms to collect our machinery key that we're gonna need to open the truck for the Pocket Watch. We get back to construction to open the truck, collect the watch for our task and kill a scav for his Mosin. This means we'll have a good close range weapon and a long range weapon. This will be extremely useful because it vastly increases our effective range. We no longer are required to be in close proximity to other players or scavs to be able to kill them. Having more options like this, to be able to catch your opponent off guard, massively improves your odds. It is not long after killing the scav and adding the Mosin to our arsenal before we run into our first PMCs. Yeah, scavs don't have backpacks anymore, chat. Yeah, I guess they don't. Where do we need to go? That way. They always have rigs though. Do they literally never have backpacks anymore? This is the first PMC we run into in this raid. He is directly in between where we need to go to extract. So instinctively we take the shot immediately. As he goes down, it's revealed to us that he was just hugging it out with his teammate. That very teammate now knows our exact position. It is in our best interest and a general good rule of thumb to fall back into cover immediately. Come up with a plan to engage. By the looks of it, and the full automatic fire we receive back in our old known location reveals further information of our opponent. He looks and sounds way more geared than us. We need to reload the shotgun at this point, and it will be tricky to get close enough to him to make full use of our limited range. Good thing we picked up that Mosin earlier, as it provides us with a longer engagement range. But first things first. Fall back, relocate. We stay on the front foot as long as our enemy is left guessing. We find a spot that's a little out of the way because we'll need to quickly search the rig that the scav dropped that we picked up earlier to find the Mosin ammo to be able to reload the Mosin. And from this position we can start to push up to our enemy. You always want to try to get into a position like this where you can take the fight to them instead of them taking the fight to us. Make them react to your actions and put yourself into a position of power. I am at this point unsure on if we landed a hit or not. We might have. Either way, since he fell back and lost line of sight on us and we know that he is in the exact same spot as before, we can now push up. We have more information on him at this point than he has of us. We want to capitalize on this as much as possible, alongside the reasonable guess that he might have caught a bullet and thus is hurting. This is the position of power that I always try to explain in this series. If you can create a situation in which you have the upper hand, act on it immediately. Don't give your opponents time and space to heal back up, regroup and level the playing field. You want this very playing field to be tipped in your favor as much as possible. Otherwise, all of the previous work we just did will have been for nothing. We know that we're about to get into a serious fight now, so as we're pushing up, don't forget to pop a pain. Painkillers or any other type of this kind, like Vaseline, morphine, Propital, is your best friend in Tarkov PvP. You always pop a pain. For those unfamiliar with the pain killing effect in Tarkov, it's pretty simple. When your PMC gets shot in and loses a leg or gains a fracture, you will still be able to walk at a normal speed and even run, despite it hurting, as long as you are under the influence of the painkiller effect. In the occasion that you're not, you will, as soon as you get shot in the leg, lose just about all of your mobility. Of course, this loss of mobility is a straight up death sentence. Hence why you always pop a pain. Right here is where I make a mistake, and I like to highlight these in this series as much as I can in order to teach and show where fights are won or lost. My positioning here is bad. I guess I didn't really expect him to come closer and was maybe hoping to find him manning back up behind this blue wall somewhere. Either way, his positioning here isn't the best either, without trying to throw any shade on my opponent at all. We are both without cover here. I pushed up a little bit too far beyond this spool thing on my right, and he could have also peeked from behind the blue wall instead of standing on top of it. It would have protected his legs a little bit more and make him a harder target to hit. Cover is extremely important and sometimes I feel even underappreciated. With the heavy focus these days on esports and the like, and what is dubbed as W warriors, referring to players who play extremely aggressive, chatting if you will, for lack of better terms. These type of players, generally speaking, make up for poor positioning with insane aim and twitch reflexes. And of course I'm speaking generally here. Of course there are those who have godlike aim, reflexes and proper positioning. But just like real life, not everybody who plays Tarkov at a high competitive level is Lionel Messi or Michael Jordan.
Stop it. Get some help.
And for me, since I'm an old man who needs to get his eyes checked, I cannot rely on the same abilities. I guess this is another tip for any one of you watching right now. If you struggle in Tarkov and die a lot in PvP, make a mental note next time you die. Record your own footage and watch back your death. And ask yourself this: did I make use of any cover to make it as difficult as possible for my opponent to land a hit on me? More about this with my closing notes towards the end of this video. Stay tuned. And don't forget to leave a like if you're enjoying it so far. Me and my opponent here are both extremely exposed. We exchange some shots before I need to fall back again, but as we're fighting, I spot something in the distance. Did you see it? It was pretty fast. Let me slow it down a bit. Can we get some zoom on that? Yo, can we enhance or something?
Enhance section A6.
Hold on a second, I'll enhance.
Okay, now that's a lot better. Look, The enhancement revealed a crucial detail. I'm not just fighting one guy, I'm fighting two. There appears to be another guy just behind the first on the blue fence. So remember what we talked about just before, about being in a position of power? Well, they have a numerical advantage, and everything changes now that we know that they are still the two. Tipping the scale in our favor is out of the window. We are hurt and need the bandage and med up. And we barely have the kit to be able to handle a straight up 1v1 fight. Ideally, we want to surprise our enemy, but we cannot do that right now. We might win a straight up 1v1, but it's unlikely. And then there's still the third guy to worry about. I feel in this moment, pushing them will be guaranteed death for us. Even flanking them would be extremely difficult, because even though we picked up that motion earlier that gives us more range than the shotty we started with, it's still without a scope, so it's not like we can pick them off from a safer distance either. Also, this spot here to the left, we've already used before. It's one of the better spots I feel in this situation to flank from, but they'll know to expect it because we've already used it. And don't forget our objective for this raid. We are light on kit and we want to find the pocket watch and escape. So in this moment I feel like the best course of action to keep ourselves alive is to remove ourselves from this position. We fall back and we go around. Again, we find a spot that's a little out of the way to catch our breath and heal up. Even though we are hurt, it's not something that will kill us straight away. Don't make the mistake of staying in the last known location and heal there. Since they are with two, they will be far more likely to push and hunt us down. It's usually the case when engaging teams in Tarkov. Most of the time, in my experience anyway, they will feel the security of playing in numbers and act accordingly. They'll be far more likely to take risks because their risks are smaller than those who play alone. Either way, you don't want to get caught out. When in doubt, you either push, flank or move in general. Sitting still in the last known location they saw you puts you at a massive disadvantage, and most often than not you will pay for not moving with your life. So we make sure we get out of there and find a place to heal before we move on further. Which, from the sound of it, we barely managed to do. I don't think they saw us go here though. I think those were just stray bullets. Intended for us, sure. But I think they were just firing blindly into the bushes here. Why do I think that? Listen close. I'll play it back. You hear those two shots at the start that are actually pretty close to hitting us. And then the two shots that come after we've passed the corner of the wall for a while. Those last two shots tell me that they had no clue what they were aiming at. It was definitely not us. We were already long gone. So at this point I'm feeling confident enough that they don't know that we turned the corner here and they might still suspect us in this area. This gives us the room to move around, and with a little luck we won't have to worry about them for the time being, when they still think that there's a threat around in this construction area. For those unfamiliar with the callouts on this map, customs, remember that the truck that we took the pocket watch from? That whole area is called construction, including the area in which we were fighting these guys. Anyway, let's move on. As we find our spot to heal up, I want to point out another quick thing about cover. I think many of the things I highlight in this breakdown series work for shooters and survival games in general, but especially for Tarkov. Cover is extremely important and it will save your ass. Whenever I move in Tarkov on any map, I always try to minimize my time spent out in the open and maximize my time when I have cover on one side, preferably more than one. Notice here how I'm hugging the wall on my right as I move alongside it. It might sound very simple, but I find in practice for a lot of people who may struggle, this is not second nature to them yet. By hugging this wall, we eliminate anyone engaging us from the right side. The right is safe, so we only need to keep our eyes in front, our back and our left flank. When we sit down next to the dumpster, it will provide us with cover from our immediate back as well. Meaning we only have to keep our eyes towards the front and our left flank. Practice makes perfect. Keeping an eye out for cover and moving from cover to cover as much as you can will vastly improve your odds of survival. You want to get to such a point where whenever you move around any map, you're making a mental note of available cover in your area. Move to and from cover and you will always know where the closest available cover is in the instance you maybe get surprised or ambushed by another player. And whenever you do, you will remain to have the upper hand if you know where your cover is and they don't know where theirs is. Note here, as I'm moving up this hill on the train tracks, I know the map ends on my right, so I know where to expect my possible enemies from. So as I said before, whenever I move around in Tarkov, I make a mental note of where my available cover is at all times. This is a really good habit to develop as you're looking to improve your skills in this game, and just about any other shooter. It will all become second nature in due time. Notice here, my possible opponent can come from the front, the left, or behind me. I have potential concealment here from the tree, and my cover potential is this big post, the train, and this big post in the back. These posts might seem like they're pretty much worthless because they don't fully block my entire body, but this is simply not true. Even though their coverage is a lot less than say this entire train cart, their limited volume will still stop a bullet or two. This could just be enough to survive a potential fight. Don't underestimate the usefulness of cover. It doesn't need to be the most solid cover there is. Even the little bits help. As our next opponent here will soon find out in a moment. Oof, you bugger. So, a couple of things that I want to highlight here. First up, his backpack. The Pilgrim Backpack with the purple is like wearing a huge neon sign on your back. You know, the ones that they show in the movies about Vegas. Big flashy neon arrow saying, shoot here. So we did. These kind of backpacks, honestly, I would only suggest to anyone who's in a big team. Like a 4-man or more. That way you can easily identify each other by the backpack. But honestly, for any established player or team, there's always better backpacks than the Pilgrim. It's just absolutely horrible. If this player would have worn any other backpack than the Pilgrim, I most likely would not have seen him anyway. Second up, we take a bunch of damage at the start of the fight when we figure out that the shotgun didn't kill him. Why? Because again, I overextend and I'm not in cover. As soon as I realize that the guy is still alive, we step back and try our best to keep this post between his line of sight and our body. Watching it back now, we can actually see that without it, we would have died here. I count at least 3 bullets that get fully absorbed by the post here in this quick firefight. It 100% saved us. And last but not least, the motion we picked up earlier proves yet again to be instrumental for us. No matter how much BSG will try to nerf it, we will use it. One headshot here is all it takes for our opponent to get sent back to Lumbridge. And it all started with us looking out for cover and knowing where it is, hugging it and putting it between us and our opponent's line of sight. And that Pilgrim Backpack. That blasted Pilgrim Backpack. Have we got a backpack, chat? We got a busted leg. One note here about me healing straight away, even though this is usually a bad idea. And you would be right for saying like, hey Kev, it's a bad idea to heal right on top of a body. Exactly on the same spot where you just had a fight. And it would be. It is a bad idea in general. I'm just diving on the body straight away without checking if this guy has teammates or not. But my reasoning here is that I figured that if this guy would have had a teammate, then I would have seen them before I spotted the guy looting the stash in the bushes. I know that might be a bit reckless on my end for just assuming, but usually when one of your teammates loots a container like that, you provide them cover. This means that I would have seen a teammate of his on or around the train tracks and they would have jumped in the fight to help. I didn't see anybody and nobody jumped on the fight to help this guy, so I'm just assuming here that he didn't have any teammates and was alone. On top of this, I don't want to linger in this area for longer than I absolutely have to, so I'm looking to loot as quick as I can and get my healing in during the looting. Yes, for those who don't know, you can actually start to med and search a body. This will probably get patched in the future, but for now it is what it is. This guy was actually good. Alright, let's get out of here. Whoa. Did you see that snap? Scav's like actually aimbotting. So as for my closing notes, what I wanted to mention earlier about esports and the guys who want to play like Jets and W Warriors and stuff is the following. I feel like some of the community really look up to these kind of playstyles and try to copy it. And if you do, please don't take this the wrong way. But this game is different compared to more casual shooters. Not many of us have the abilities and skill sets that some of these super highly competitive Tarkov players have. And that's okay. I mean, I also play this game and I barely have any skills. I feel for the majority of the raids clips that I see on the internet, Twitter, Reddit, it's people, streamers or not, who play. They put themselves in the worst possible locations without cover and no game plan. And they get salty when they get killed. Some might even call hacks. I see this over and over and over again. And the answer usually isn't that you got cheated on or hacked on. Most of the time it's because of poor positioning, not using cover, trying to chat it out. But this is Tarkov. You are not invincible and you're not entitled to always win just because you have better gear and a bigger gun. Identify your own mistakes, learn and improve your abilities to become a better player. Look at yourself before pointing the finger at something or somebody else. Try to slow it down a bit and find balance in your approach. You can learn the moments when you have to go fast and then also when to go slow. Stick to cover. Watch the Breakdown series and don't forget to pop a pain. Just about any dev in Tarkov has something to teach. And this is exactly the intention of this series. So if you enjoyed it, make sure to thumbs up the video, leave a comment, and feel free to let me know what you think. And if you're excited for more videos on the channel. The Breakdown series videos always take a lot of time to make. So if you want to see more, you can let me know and YouTube know by interacting, like thumbs up, subscribing, sharing, to help the algorithm to show it to more people. I want to give another massive thank you to the people who support me on Patreon and Twitch to enable me to do what I do. Thank you all so much for everything. If you'd like to also become a patron yourself, the link to the page is in the description with everything you need to know. You'll get exclusive roles and perks on our Discord community server, which you can also find in the description of this video. If you're new around here, don't forget to check out my other stuff, Season 1 and 2 of the Breakdown series and more. Subscribe if you haven't yet, as it helps me with everything algorithm related, and you'll not miss my future uploads if you ring the bell too. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Tell your friends and family and definitely come say hi in the live streams as well. See ya.